Hello everyone. Today we take it easy, take it simple. We're just doing some prepping with surely I don't get absolutely nerfed into oblivion. That will never happen. No way that would be the case, right? It's just gonna be solid PoBs. Six two 7-6. Need 2 more coverage points. Shadow! How are you doing, buddy? What am I overlooking? Missing something. Fixed for now. Alright, that's the trees. Multi-shot, swift, yes, execute, escalating, concentrated. Yes. And we have bursting plague replacing escalating. We get prolonged later, we get Deadly 1 and Bursting 2. And get Deadly 2. We shift escalating poison here for now. We don't get a 6 tier 2 uncut. Yeah. Then we Bursting and Deadly. Prolonged Swift. Magnified as a low priority. Not happy with the Toxic Growth support jumps, I'll be honest. Pong area execute felt nice, but close combat doesn't really, because we have times where we really don't want to be right next to the enemy. I think the best we can do is get Bleed 2 on Poison Burst Arrow and get Herald of Blood in Act 3. Because there isn't a downside between Swift Affliction 1 and 2 except the duration, and we don't really worry about the duration that much. Don't worry about the Magnified, so we get Bleed 2 here. Bleed 2. Then we get Bursting Plague and Poison 2. We get Bleed 2 here. I think that is the strongest setup we can do. Just focus on the clear and utilizing having a good clear and then slightly weaker bossing. Now if Toxic Growth bossing gets nerfed, we might need to adjust this, but we don't really have good gem options that early. And our poisons don't really do that much damage yet. This actually doesn't give us damage that early. It's better to just get the passive points from the second lab and get that in the third lab. Early on we just care more about the hit DPS of Toxic Growth. Then in third lap we grab it. Fourth lap we grab Relentless. Yes, covers. So in all my runs, I've been using Contagion till I get Contagious Contamination on my first Ascendancy. And in recent runs, I started delaying getting my lap 1 done till after Spires of the Shah. So I do lap 1 at level 26, 27. This results in us doing lap 1 only after we have solved our single target damage and we have a proper toxic growth. So we have an easier time there, and that's when I stop using Contagion. Contagion normally drops off way earlier, but because it does take our poison and resets the poison duration, it is really good for our clear. So I'm not doing any supporting on it. I just have a level 1 Contagion with nothing else. And it does feel pretty good for that. Now, in Act 4 we finally get a good support jump, so this is when I finally get a good support on Toxic Growth with long fuse. Yes, but we fire one poison burst arrow and we cast Contagion, and during the attack of the poison the enemy dies and then the poison spreads. Long fuse is massive. I find it really cool that we can use it on Toxic Growth. I don't know if it was intended or just because of the tag on Toxic Growth that it works, because it has the explosion thingy. I think that's the only reason, because long fuse is literally meant for grenades, right? But because Toxic Growth has a detonation time with the new wording, it just works, and I found it really cool. I've been using it since that on that. And then we need Deadly Poison on Gas Arrow, we need Deadly Poison on Poison Burst, we have Herald of Blood with Bleed and Poison, and we have Lake Bearer with Deadly, no, with Bursting Plague, Poison 2, and Bleed 2. I've been doing this in the last run. Plague Bearer with Herald of the Blood is really good clear. As long as there are enemies swarming at us, they will all die to this, so we need to rely less on Poison Burst Arrow, but we can still interweave it, and it is very mana friendly for clearing. So I'm going to be recommending this unless it gets changed. Then this is when we start linking stuff up. In priority, Bursting Plague, Deadly Poison, Bleed 3, Poison 3. And we don't need escalating here. Projectile acceleration is better. And then we have Vine Arrow, Prolong, Swift, Magnified. We need nothing else here. This is a decent 3-link. Then we have Toxic Rose with Conk, Long Fuse, Deadly. We don't need escalating here. It is much stronger to use Heft. And what was it? What did we learn? Overextend? Yeah. And then on Gas Arrow, we are using... we are skipping Persistent Ground. And instead here we are using Escalating Poison, and we are using Corrosion. This way we can force the Gas Arrow to apply an additional poison, which we don't override with Toxic Growth, and this poison armor breaks. So our Toxic Growth until very late game stays as a hybrid poison on hit skill. And we spam it. And we use gas arrow escalating poisons for corrosion because we assume that we have more physical damage than elemental damage, as those bows are usually cheaper, with everybody on lightning arrow rather having a high lightning damage. And we can use Plague Finger if we get it, but we can also use Snake Bite this case, and we just rely on a good fist bow. And we are more flexible on our gear. I really like the setup. And if six-links stay as common as they did in Abyss League, we can expect 1 to 2 six-link by the time we reach T15 maps. Now I am pretty sure I will not be using Plague Bearer in the end game. I think Poison Burst feels better. Especially because we can scale the chains when nothing is near us even. I really like to have a war companion in the endgame, so I will be prioritizing that. Assuming, of course, again, no nerfs. What was the support for minions called that make them tanky? Meat shield. We have Wind Dancer with bleed, poison, bursting plague. We have Herald of Blood with bleed 2, poison 2, bursting plague, deadly poison. We don't have that. I know this is more spirit than we have, so we will need a spirit on amulet. But in trade that is doable. Or on get a good evasion chest and get spirit on amulet. Alright, and then the actual endgame setup is that we don't need poison here. Just grabbed it because it was stronger. We are grabbing ambush. And we are grabbing, what was it? Not chaos, no attunement. Yeah, and mixture. Wait, actually is it? Better than poison 3? It's the same, okay. And if we're using Plague Finger, we can replace Poison Burst with whatever with this setup. Because with Poison 3 we have enough poison chance on it. What did I have on Vine Arrow? Swift, Magnified, Prolonged, okay. Toxic Growth, we already have Overextend on. Gas Arrow. I don't have Deadly, okay. I think I still want Deadly. I need to test if Deadly or Persistent Ground is better. It's definitely Persistent Ground 3 what is strongest. More than Prolonged Duration. But the question is it Deadly or is it Prolonged during a boss fight? The question really is just how much poison damage is already and do we need more? And then we have Herald of Blood with Bleed 3, Poison 3, and Deadly Herald. No. That mixture. Right, I forgot we have Arakali's Lust. That is definitely powerful. We want that. More than half, I think. And how was the support called that works in offhand? Mm, Rig Waltz. Don't care about the more attack speed, but it's 30% more damage. We need cons, we need long fuse. It's both 30% more damage. Yeah. Not that much more crit multi. Can live without it. Yo, Zalmother, how are you doing, buddy? Alright. Just brain instead of loyalty once we can use it. Need 3. Poison 3, Bursting Plague, and what were they called? Hmm. Blind. And magnified. So it has a very low priority on these two supports. Those are better. Kovas, I appreciate the follow. Thank you, buddy. Alright, this is our jump setup and tree setup. Let's look a bit of gear. So during campaign, we basically have no expectations. We want a proper bow, preferably first damage, but we are looking at early maps. So this is a really powerful weapon we can get early on. Now, obviously, a good rare bow will be better. So if we are looking for things like physical, this is already much better, as we can see, than Sliver Tongue. But Sliver Tongue we use for clear, so the Arrow's Fork works with Poison Burst very easily. And this is an easy to get a bow, and then in weapon set 2, we can use whatever is a high damage bow we have access to. You got a question. If you put Elemental Weakness Curse in Swollen, and you have a Balance of Terror Jewel, it will not count as cast when triggered. Balance of Terror needs manual casting. Any triggered casting does not work for Balance of Terror. It has to be manual button press to be used. Do I have an... Alright, yeah, pretty much. This is what we want. Just a high physical. Now we can also use, if we have Plague Finger Gloves, we can also have a decent amount of other flat damage, but physical is best. And we won't combine that with any good suffixes. At this point we can use crit chance, crit damage bonus is also good, as we can see here. We can see that our poison DPS gets up to 10% more. The strongest, I think, is level, though. 150, yeah, it's really powerful. So we have Sliver Tongue for clear. And then we have a high PDPS bow. If we stick with physical damage, so this is what we need to look at. Next league, if we are using Plague Finger Gloves, because we're using we can use Poison 3 support on our weapon, on our clear gem. We can use Lightning Arrow, we can use Ice Shot, we can use Poison Burst Arrow. Depending on the league mechanic we want to do, we can use any good clear skill. Theoretically, we could also use Spiral Volley, but we don't have any Frenzy Generation, and working that in will also be eh. So we can use Rain of Arrows, we can use Ice Shot, we can use Storm Chain Arrow, and everything would work. Actually, wait. Fire a lightning charged arrow that homes in enemies afflicted with lightning elements. But this cannot... Okay, I maybe have an idea. If we can make our poison damage shock, then Storm Chain Arrow suddenly becomes a lot more interesting. I just realized that.
Shock Chain Arrow will hone in on shocked enemies. Upon hitting one, a shockwave will be released, and a lightning beam will chain to another target.
If we can utilize Plague Burst... Ooh, that sounds actually interesting, that to the point that I need to test this.
Will hone in on shocked enemy.
Because this chains up to 10 times. So if we have our Herald of Blood, we need to cause shocks. This is the biggest hurdle, right? If we can cause shocks, how do we do that? How do we make our physical damage cause shocks? Well, we are pretty set on being a Pathfinder. Ah, okay. I... Well, here's the idea. I don't know, but it's worth testing. Well, Toxic Rift instead of a Sliver Tongue for our clear. This means we convert lightning damage to chaos damage. This means we don't need the Plague Finger gloves. This means that we can use Shock Chain Arrow, then have Plague Burst on an enemy. That enemy dies, releases a hit cloud, right? Plague Burst is hit damage. This is correct. Bursting Plague. Not Plague Burst, sorry. Deals physical damage equal to 100% of Plague on triggered enemy, which is 20% of the enemy's max life. Yes, so this is a hit. Which, with Voltaxic Rift, is a hit that has shock chance. Oh boy, that could actually work, and that would mean that we have access to, instead of using Lightning Arrow or anything, we have Shock Chain Arrow.
Shock Chain Arrow will hone in on shocked enemies. Upon hitting one, a shockwave will be released, and a lightning beam
So
will
we
change
have
to another target. Shock Chain Arrow
a
will hone in
shockwave
on
that
shocked
hits,
enemies.
a beam that
Upon hitting
hits,
one, a shockwave will be released, and a lightning beam will chain to another target. This chain can continue as long as...
I don't know, this sounds so cooked that it might actually work. That is something that I will have to test next league though. I don't have access to the stuff I'm in SSF on the character. But that might be cooked enough that it is actually good again. For now we assume Sliver Tongue for early clear and a good fist bow, and later on just assume a good fist bow. But maybe it is time to utilize Voltaxic Rift and utilize chaos damage that shocks. That sounds crazy enough that it might work. And because we're converting 100% of lightning damage, we can use Fist Lightning flat damage on rings. Alright. Enough about that theory craft. Let's finish the early PoB. I'm pretty sure that if we can make... I just find it interesting because I haven't found any build that was able to use Shock Chain, but if we can do that, that would just be pretty cool build. Alright, River. So... I don't think there are flat fist runes, right? Those, if there are, those are the special ones that are harder to drop. 8 to 24. 6 to 20. Okay. Percentage seems to be better. It has a flat fist roll on it. Right. Amulet. What would be an early anoint? Dang, that's actually powerful. Right. And then we have boots. Then we have body armor. Um, I really dislike that the life total is so low. So I guess I just need to assume more life on gear. Boots, amulet. I'd really like to be at least 2k flat life. Oh, I haven't done the helmet yet. Okay, the helmet helps. Alright, so we have over 10k evasion rating, we have almost 2k life. And we have the spirit we need, plus we have a decent amount of rest. So our charms would be Amethyst Charm, Staunching Charm, and Thawing Charm. Flask Life is... I'm personally like the more recovery on low life and charges per second. Alright. This would be the gear that we can expect on something like day 1, day 2. I have a section for ES. And now we would start upgrading stuff. So this would be highest priority, craft a good bow. So this would be an obliterator bow. So this would be the highest priority for the first big craft. Something like this would be very powerful compared to... I'm surprised. Is +1 poison just not that strong? Interesting. I'm actually surprised how little some of these do. Okay. Apparently just a solid fistball. All we need. I honestly expected that +1 poison would be good for us. But actually reduces... I don't understand actually why getting an additional poison is not giving us additional poison DPS. Because the duration of the poison shouldn't really affect us. Ah, it does because we just don't have that much poison duration actually. Ah, wait, I understand why. Or maybe. Yeah, okay, now it's better. $95. $54. This still looks like it's best, interestingly enough. Maxi Twitch. You're not bothering. How do you craft the gloves for the BV build? Did they had anything special on it? Pretty sure the gloves were just 3 crafts. Ah no, those were conversion gloves. Right, sorry. You either you buy good suffixes or you get the temple mod fractured. So you have suffixes done, then you do suffix can be changed, unveiled veiled chaos orb to get the conversion. Or if you want to go really expensive, you will do suffix can be changed, reforge life until you get high life, then use the veiled exalted orb. Hope to, of course, craft suffix can be changed, veiled exalted orb, which that should result in hopefully removing the suffix can be changed, get you the veil, and then you can unveil conversion. You can craft one conversion to block it, by the way. So you block fire conversion and you unveil and hope you get cold conversion. And then for the implicits, you need your conversion to hit 60% on the glove. So if you have 35 on the prefix, you need 25 on the implicit, meaning you roll 1 T4 Exarch, you roll T3 Ether until it is conversion, then you use an Orb of Dominance, or whatever it's called, the one that increases one tier, decreases the other one, and hope that it goes to 20, and then you need to do it, I think, one more time to get it to 25. But I could be lying. You need to look exactly, of course, the actual value. This is out of my head now. This is 60. This is 94, yeah. I'm pretty sure last league at some point I showed how to make conversion gloves in some previous league. This league I just made a very simple variation, so I didn't make a separate video for it. I really don't understand how am I getting damage from not having more poison stacks? This feels so counterintuitive. But just... why am I getting 28% damage from not using this? I now have... I don't know one word. Okay, so never mind. Okay, sorry. I gain 1% from this. Huh? Oh. No. Now I lose damage again. Holy. So this is good. This is good. This is good regardless. I mean, this is okay damage. But that is minor at that point. If I use this, I lose damage. I find that very counterintuitive. Poison is weird in PoE too. I hope that we get some fixes in that department. Alright. Then our second big craft is a crit quiver. Ah. Wait. Okay. Now this makes a lot more sense. Why would it assume that there are not all 8 crits on an enemy? If I have this gas arrow on an enemy and I fire 1 toxic growth, I have instantly 8 poison stacks. So now I'm curious, if I put this to 10 and I change this to this. Okay, now this makes a lot more sense though. Okay, there's my explanation why it looks down. My average strongest ailment achieves... Oh, okay, so because not all of them are crits, not all of them are... There are some very interesting calculations going on here. But yeah, okay, I understand this a bit more now. But this looks a lot more promising. This means we are doing likely about 4 million poison damage per second at late stage. Obviously with an insane quiver bow combo. But still. That makes suddenly a lot more sense. Okay. Um... Mm, hmm. The next big craft, so we are focusing on the approaching red maps, or we are focusing on the damaging aspects. So we're focusing on weapon, quiver, ring, amulet. And then in the next stage we're focusing on body, boots, belt, helmet. Yes, okay. So we have an attack, and we have definitely high lightning damage, and likely physical. And then we have cold because we cannot use flat fire damage. Is there something better? Yes, life. I really want the life. Instead of the cold damage. Yeah, I like this more than pure pure damage ring. Energy shield of body armor is an Abyss mod. Okay. Interesting. Actually, a lot of damage this build can achieve. So this is the damage I roughly expect with one poison. Means this is the damage of all my poisons. very interesting how it calculates this in full DPS. Patika, I'm doing fine. How are you doing? What are the unique charms? It depends on how new you are to the game and if you played PoE 1 before. What was it called? Right. PoE 2 Rite of Passage. PoE 2 Wiki needs a better SEO score, so it's actually in the search. Poison hit, all damage contribute, increased damage, caustic ground. Not as good as I was hoped it to be. It should be fairly cheap though, and it is not bad. It still gives 30% increased damage and creates caustic ground, which is in a native dot. Alright, so we talking about PoE 1 or PoE 2? If it's your first time playing PoE 2, I recommend take your time, play through the story, explore and test out, more than just follow a guide and try to rush through it. Take your time and enjoy the game. You only have one first playthrough, you only have one first approach to the game. If you start with just looking at what people do when they maximize their playtime, when they min-max their builds, and optimize everything, then you only approach it from that perspective and it's gonna warp the way you look at the game. Yeah, you don't have to go like all the way in blind. if you know that you like to go a specific build and you don't want to get hard stuck with the build, you can look at like, okay, what I want to really play a minion build. Is there a really solid minion setup? And just instead of going at all the details though of the build in the video, just take a quick look. Okay, this is about using minion X. So minion X is a strong minion. I rather stick with minion X and then I experiment with other minions on the side. But I know that minion X will work. Or I want to play both. Is it Ice Shot? Is it Lightning Arrow? Is it Poison Burst? What is the best way to play both? Okay, Lightning Arrow is good. Let me experiment with Lightning Arrow. You're likely gonna get to the same end results, but you're gonna be spending more time and you're still gonna be experimenting. So you're just looking at what is the powerful things just to guarantee that you get to the later stages of the game if you want to do that. But you can also just go in fully blind and explore. Either approach is viable. I just recommend not doing what I did when I started playing. When I was installing Path of Exile 1 back then, because PoE 2 wasn't out yet, for the first time and I really wanted to play it, all I did was looking at, okay, I was watching 4 different guides while the game was installing. I was following a build guide to the minute detail, and of course I gotten into the end game and I still got hooked at the end, but I optimized everything the moment I started playing the game instead of, exploring the game, having some fun, and figuring stuff out while I'm at it. Lambert and Patika, I appreciate the follows from you too. Body, we are still going hybrid. Why is my energy shield so low? It should be way higher, no? Ah, okay. No, spectral ward is there. Ah, ha. That's why. Yeah, now it's higher. Okay. And finally, boots. Invasion energy shield. Movement. 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 Effect of socketed items. Movement speed. And evasion energy shield. Chaos res and deflection rating. There we go. Oh, why am I losing so much damage? I know why. Weapon set 2, right? Yeah, there we go. Alright, that is the Poison Pathfinder. Here be done. We have the item skills and tree. We have the config. We've understood when it's important to grab the additional poisons and why this one is always looking negative. Because this one isn't assuming all the poisons. Actually, all we need to look at this damage to see our total poison damage. And we do want Plague Finger Gloves and we want some lightning damage just so we can say the enemy is shocked. Just so we have shock in the build. Yeah, goodbye, yeah. Yeah. Oh, cool. I think I pronounced this correctly. Thank you for the follow, buddy. I appreciate it. Of course. Oh, right. I forgot one thing. We have 3 sockets, meaning we can... Oh, right. So we need... what was this one called? Is it from nothing? Yes. From nothing on Oasis. From nothing on Oasis doesn't get us wasting guild? Right. But it gets us fast-acting toxins. And the 2 small nodes. And we can also get... Escape strategy. Don't use companion, but projector speed is neat, AoE is neat. And don't need shock spread. Alright, and this means attributes, correct. I forgot about that. We need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh boy. We do a lot more damage than I thought because I forgot to level up the gems. Of course, we are looking at insane gear, so with insane gear, we should be doing insane damage. Set 1, set 2, auras. Right. I need to save more passives. We need strength here. Don't need those. Those were... No, we do need those. I like to be level 94. This is 10. This is neat, but we have Aurora. We can cut those. We should be able to cut... No, we need the dexterity. Okay, that's good to know. How much int do we need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. 97. There's 3 points I need to cut. How much is this giving me? This is a 4.10%. Then I cut that out. And I can just get 1 more point here. Alright. And then we do this again here. This is the only source as far as I'm aware of faster poison. Alright. $15. Those are the 10 points. Now we need to cut stuff out again. We cut that one. What do we even cut here? We can't cut those. Dex is important. We can cut this. Twice allocated this weapon set. Um, 96. Oh, it's okay. This is high level. We keep it as this. Alright. This is from nothing. Then we have Against the Darkness, which seems to stay in the game. No, not Against the Darkness. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna test this. damage as extra chaos, damage as extra lightning, which would be, of course, insane. In this spot is 31. Okay. If we have a radius jewel, time loss sapphire, and we do magnitude of ailments, we do oh wait, I don't have. I forgot wizard. Do I have space for that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, I do. The only thing is I don't have the int for that. Okay, that's gonna be... How do I get the int? No, okay, to be fair, we have so much damage we don't need Withering Presence in the very late game variant. We can... But I can try to fit that back in the early one. So this is 30. What can we get? $17. Diamond. That one goes close. That one would be as insane. And we don't even need any more AoE on this to do more with it. One, two, three, four, 5 notables in range of a small one. How would that fare though if we change it to a large radius? Ah, okay. Large is not large enough to get to this and these 3 nodes. Alright, then the more important question is, do these even exist? Notable poison, notable ailment. Okay, that exists. That one does not exist. Okay. So we can expect the 2 mod 1, we don't really need the faster. But this one is almost as good as an Against the Darkness, which is desired by way more builds. It's barely a damage increase. And the last one we can get is either an Heart of the Well. Or is, I think, actually a little bit stronger would be the double anoint one. But I think we are competing with a lot of other builds for generic double anoint one. Things like lasting trauma, throat seeker, and stuff like that. Any double crit, any damage one. Those are just too specific to plan them into a build. Those are really great if you randomly find one on the market. But if you need to plan with it, I don't think it's good. So something like this would be really powerful. That's the last one. And this one we can easily replace with a rare one as well, with just mana on kill and then whatever. We aren't forced to use a Heart of the Well. Alright, so we're looking at potentially, with the most insane gear, like 17 million poison damage, which results in like 6.8 to 7 million poison DPS. Or earlier stage we have like 6.5. This is enough to kill any endgame boss in one big toxic growth attack. So we maybe do 1 to 2 toxic growths, and pretty much anything in the game will die to it. And our clear is then just firing 1 poison burst, which deals, of course, less damage. But then we have poison burst, which deals not as much not as much poison damage. But that is okay, because this is just meant to kill anything in a map, which then starts the Herald of Blood auto-chaining. The poison spreads to nearby enemies, but also the bursting plague on that enemy explodes, causes a bleed damage to nearby enemies. Then the nearby enemies are both bled and poisoned because of poison spread and because of bursting plague doing hit damage which can bleed. Those enemies then bleed and are poisoned, so when they die, the poison spreads again, and the bleed applies Herald of Blood explosion and bursting plague explosion, and that just repeats, and we keep killing everything on the screen. That's the idea of it. Alright. So that is the PoB. Now, how good is the import nowadays? Okay, we still can't do it this way. We can't have a PoB in, we need the code. We delete default, we have our campaign. Cool. So, what worked, what didn't work? I seem to have gotten the gems. I do not have the skills. I do have the passive tree. I do not have the gear. Okay. So I need to quickly check in with the Mobalytics team. Um... Alright. Let's get to the written part. How do I write this intro to the build? I'm always bad with these overviews. Let's do this. I will and kill all pinnacles. So we do need to actually do it on the build, but the theoretical damage is there. 17 million with one assumed crit shot of toxic growth. Yeah, no, it can kill all pinnacles. Chaining, Pinnacle, its evasion, energy shield, survivability. Has great recovery because we have built in life on kill. And is a fast mapper. Let's scroll up. There we go. Right. And early endgame. Oh, damage and poison damage to kill. For solid elite starter choice. Right, it's a perfect all-round on League Start. We have clear and toxic growth for single target damage. Oh. Let's fill in the bottom part first. Place the force. Right. What was it called? Ice shot. Alright. I forgot anything? No, I don't think so. Yeah. So one thing I need to plan back in is the Withering Presence and Despair, which I'm unsure of how to have the attributes required for these. But likely just need some attributes on gear, which we can only do in the early stages as we want other stats in later stages. But to be fair, later on we don't really need it. If we are ready to over 10 million poison damage per second, then stuff will just die. PoE 2 just has not the damage numbers to keep anything alive at that point. How am I? Ah, okay. No, we need one to reduce the duration. Okay. What was its name? Leeching. Toxins. Shield with You have to how we clear. We have our bossing, we have the survivability and the recovery. Alright, how does it work? We have poison burst, arrow, we have toxic growth, I should also mention poison burst arrow. We have what do you mean with merit? Also, hi Dreamy, how are you doing? Oh, okay. What does it do? What other interaction needs to be explained? Ah, gotcha, that was the shield. Don't think I'm using any other interactions that needs to be explained. Alright. Is it G? Yeah. It's pushing enemies. I think this is it. So we kill an enemy support with our clear skill. So this is poison and blood. The blood enemy explodes without blood, and the poison enemy releases bursting plague. So we have two physical damage explosions. One applying poison and bleed, one applying just poison. Then this causes the yeah. Bursting Plague hits additional enemies, applying bleed and poison, health blood applies poison. Next enemy dies, proccing those again, and we repeat 5 till everything dies. For a super satisfying explosion chain. Oh, right. Hmm. Alright, so we kill the enemy. It dies bled and poisoned, so we proc Bursting Plague, Bleed, and Poison Spread. All those happen. Poisoned enemy dies. The bleed enemy explode and poison. Yes. Next enemy dies. This is way more simplified. Okay. We keep it at that. Alright. chosen classified sites based on hit damage before reduction star 5. This means the critical damage from critical strikes does apply to the poison. We had 110, we have 10 critical strikes. Apply their damage. So rounds of toxic growth. What was the last rule? The poison charge posture does not get overwritten. It will deal more damage. And there was one more. What was the last thing I noticed of them? Hey, Father. How you doing, buddy? What was the last thing that applied to them? What was I noticing? I am pre-writing the written guide and the PoB for my potential league starters because I have nothing big to do today and I can get it already out of the way. Even if it does get nerfed, I then have it out there. And if I find a way to make it work, I can just quickly adjust it. For now, I just say tune. Not overwritten, deal more damage. By the looks of it in my room. I don't think I've ever played Project Diablo. I've only ever played the original Diablo and the Median mod. What have you been playing in Project Diablo 2, Proto? Alright, I think this is everything important about toxic growth. Alright, Do I forget anything? Is there anything else? No. I don't think there's any more hidden details on Poison Burst Arrow. Or this leaves us with Plague Finger Gloves. Nix. Hey Cyclone, I know you're from the Aurabot times. I've noticed you've gone over to the Dark Side as well to play bows. Why is that? I have always played bows. Even before I played Aurabot, I have been playing bows. I enjoy a fast-paced gameplay. I enjoy going off-screen and killing a lot of stuff. And that really never has changed. Even in back when I played Cyclone as what I started with, I had the most satisfaction when the whirlwind was the entire screen I was zooming with. I used to play a lot of Aurabot, coming back to your question. But I started to have less and less fun just running through the map alongside somebody else doing broken stuff, and had more fun doing the broken stuff myself. So I had less and less enjoyment playing as an Aurabot, and more enjoyment playing actively the game myself. On top of that, I've been focusing more on YouTube than on just amassing currency and just playing the game. Sometimes with more, sometimes with less success, but that's a different point. And I noticed that making content as a duo, league starting as a duo, or doing group stuff has not the same success in general than doing it solo has. Just because it reaches more people if you do it solo. Now that said, if you do and apply it correctly, you can still have group content that has interesting results, so a lot of people will watch it, but not always. Unlike Poison Burst Arrow Explosion, which poisons as if hit. Hit damage. that can... Yeah, of course. That is also some stuff that adds up. I've never fully lost interest in support and group play. I just moved on from forced group play to team play, which is actually my preferred way of playing with others. I have a lot of enjoyment when I'm playing with others in a team, but this doesn't mean that it has to be a group. So what I've adapted to is what I call team play, which is I and a group of other people, sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 4. Now this league start, I think we were a total of 7 people. Everybody plays their own builds and does their content, but we share the currency to accelerate each other in our race faster, and preferably have one trader that uses spare currency to craft risk, flip risk, invest risk. So in this way, we can still have the benefits of having several people, we still have the voice chat and talking with others, and the acceleration, the snowball of having several people do several contents, but we aren't forced to schedule doing the same maps and to play as group builds. Now, a team can still contain a group, but it doesn't have to. Before I say something wrong.